Welcome back, focused learners. I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through today's explainer. We're taking a deep dive into the 2026 Yamaha Tenere 700. But, we're not just going to sit here and read off a spec sheet today. No way. We're going to look at what it actually takes to build the ultimate adventure machine. We're taking this thing straight from the factory floor, wheeling it into the garage, and ripping it right out onto the dirt track.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to ask yourself a question. What really makes the ultimate adventure motorcycle? Like, is perfection something you can just go out and buy at a dealership? Or is it something you've got to build, tweak, and customize yourself through trial, error, and, let's be real, a whole lot of trail dust?
Well, to answer that, we've got to start at the foundation. 11 grand. $10,999 to be exact. That is the starting base MSRP of the 2026 Tenere 700 here in the US. And before we start bolting on any fancy aftermarket upgrades, we've just got to acknowledge the raw accessibility of this machine. It's an incredibly aggressive price point, and it leaves you with enough budget to, actually fund your adventures. Or, of course, build out the bike to your exact specifications.
Section 1. Meet the 2026 Tenere 700. So, what makes the base Tenere 700 so universally loved? Honestly, it's the raw mechanical simplicity. In an era where bikes are essentially just rolling supercomputers, Yamaha took a very deliberate analog approach with their legendary CP2 engine. It's a 689cc liquid-cooled parallel twin, pushing out 72 horsepower and 50 pound-feet of torque. Now, on paper, sure, that might not sound like some fire-breathing monster, but out on the trail, it is pure magic. This proven power plant delivers a smooth, highly predictable mid-range torque. And why does that matter? Because predictable power literally prevents rider fatigue when you're navigating tricky, technical terrain or just eating up endless stretches of highway.
Building around that engine, we have some absolutely rock-solid foundations. We're looking at a 459-pound wet rate, a 4.2-gallon fuel tank, and 43mm fully adjustable inverted forks. Plus, it rolls on true off-road capable 21-inch front and 18-inch rear tires. But honestly, the biggest bullet point here? Minimal electronics. That is a massive advantage. Think about it. When you're touring in remote regions, miles away from a tow truck or a dealership, having fewer sensors and electronic modules means there are simply fewer things they can break and leave you stranded.
Section 2. World Raid. Going further. Let's move on and see how this builds.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast between the analog base model and the incredible long-range capabilities of the premium World Raid trim. Because for some riders, the base model is really just the starting line. The World Raid completely swaps the traditional cable throttle for a modern ride-by-wire system. It beefs up the suspension to these premium 46mm KYB forks, giving you an extra 20mm of travel. It adds dual side-mounted fuel tanks holding roughly 6 gallons, which, by the way, gives you an insane 500-kilometer range. Plus, it upgrades that basic dash to a really beautiful 6.3-inch color TFT display.
But the World Raid isn't just about bigger tanks and thicker forks. The tech upgrades here are substantial. It introduces a 6-axis IMU. This is essentially a digital brain that constantly measures how the bike is leaning and pitching. And that enables lean-sensitive traction and slide control alongside multiple power modes like Sport and Explorer. You also get cruise control and a 16-step adjustable steering damper. Now, these electronic interventions aren't just flashy gadgets. Combined with a new air intake for better low-end torque and larger foot pegs, they specifically reduce the sheer physical toll on your body during those grueling multi-day expeditions.
Section 3. Real-world touring and reliability.
So we've looked at the specs on paper. Let's shift away from the dealership for a second and see how this machine actually handles long-distance abuse out in the real world. To ground the bike's capability, we honestly don't have to look much further than the touring companies operating over in Vietnam. The Tenere 700 has basically become the weapon of choice for rigorous cross-country routes like the legendary Ha Giang Loop and the Ho Chi Minh Trail. It has absolutely proven its agility and stability across deep gravel, rutted dirt trails, and completely unpredictable mountain terrain, places where heavier adventure bikes really struggle just to keep their footing. But how comfortable is it while you're surviving all that? Well, let's do a quick touring comfort check. On the strength side, the ergonomics are fantastic. You've got an upright riding position, wide handlebars for incredible leverage, and a truly flawless natural standing posture for when the trail gets rough. However, there are definitely areas for upgrade. The stock wind protection is pretty basic, and that factory seat, yeah, it becomes noticeably firm after a 300-kilometer day. Let's be real, a numb backside is the enemy of any good adventure. So if you're a long-distance rider, budgeting for an aftermarket comfort seat and a taller windscreen is absolutely going to be your first order of business.
Section 4. Ownership and maintenance costs. Let's bring this back to the wallet for a minute and focus on the highly predictable financial realities of long-term Tenere ownership here in the US, because honestly, this is where the bike really shines. Your main tasks are pretty simple: an oil and filter change once or twice a year, regular chain cleaning and adjustment, a yearly brake inspection, and just checking the air filter as needed. The cost impact for all of these is low to moderate. The Tenere's legendary reliability means running costs remain impressively low. Parts are incredibly easy to find, and your required dealership visits are kept to an absolute minimum.
So the crucial point is, the high value of this bike isn't just in its low purchase price. It comes from avoiding those unexpected expensive mechanical failures down the line. You benefit from moderate insurance rates simply because it's not classified as a high-risk sport bike. Routine service is easily handled right in your own home garage. The expensive valve inspections, those are spaced incredibly far apart, and the US dealer network ensures parts availability is super stable. It's a bike that actually respects your bank account.
Section 5. Essential upgrades and mods.
All right, now for the really fun part, getting into the garage to finalize the build by solving specific adventure riding problems with aftermarket parts. Let's start with a very common frustration. Listen to this quote from a rider on the Wild Goat Adventures channel. He says, "I bent this hanger like 4 or 5 times already. I was sick of that happening 4 or 5 times in 2 days." He's talking about the stock exhaust. It hangs out way too low and wide, making it incredibly vulnerable. If you drop the bike on its right side on a rocky trail, and let's face it, you will, that exhaust bracket bends, chips the paint, and forces you to unbolt and straighten it over and over again. Not fun.
Luckily, the solution to this headache is brilliant. Check out the Aero Titanium High Mount Exhaust. Made in Italy, this exhaust routes the piping high up, neatly tucking the muffler away right under the tail. It completely solves the clearance issue, meaning you can drop the bike without smashing your expensive exhaust, plus it saves weight, it features a flawless finish, and critically, it maintains a street-legal decibel limit so you aren't annoying absolutely everyone else out on the trail.
Next up, rubber. Choosing between 50/50 adventure tires and aggressive enduro tires is a massive decision. Your 50/50 tires, like the Michelin Anarchy Adventure, deliver great longevity, excellent wet weather grip, and can totally handle moderate dirt. On the flip side, aggressive enduro tires, like the Anarchy Wild, prioritize gripping deep mud and loose rock, but they wear out incredibly fast and vibrate terribly when you're back on the tarmac. Unless you plan to exclusively tackle technical dirt trails, I highly recommend the 50/50 Adventure tire as your most versatile, everyday choice. But hey, before you order new rubber, the experts at TFX Suspension warn about 3 major mistakes riders always seem to make. First, buying purely on aggressive looks instead of your actual riding conditions. Second, ignoring the load index. If you're touring with heavy luggage, you absolutely need a tire that can handle that weight. And third, failing to adjust your suspension after changing tire types. Seriously, a stiffer enduro sidewall can totally throw off your factory damping and spring rates, making your bike handle terribly. And this brilliantly illustrates a vital concept. A motorcycle is a complete, connected ecosystem, where the tires and suspension absolutely must work in perfect harmony. The final polish for the ultimate adventure machine is making sure you match your new rubber to a custom, individual, rider-tuned TFX shock. This ensures that your Tenere tracks flawlessly, whether you're floating over rocky riverbeds or carving up canyon roads. So, we started with a blank canvas, we explored its rugged capabilities, we managed the running costs, and we bolted on the ultimate upgrades. You now have a machine tailored exactly to your unique riding style. So I leave you with this. With proven reliability and a bike built just for you, where will your pursuit of the perfect adventure take you next? The map is wide open. Get out there, build your dream machine, and I'll catch you on the trails.